And now that the main event talk is out of the way, we cover the co-main event, the number one ranked welterweight in the world, Kamaru Usman, versus the number four ranked welterweight in the world, Khamzat Chimaev. But they are fighting at middleweight, 185 pounds, and the winner gets the title opportunity against Sean Strickland. No pressure, right? Let's get into it. The Wolf, Khamzat Chimaev, putting the perfect 12-0 record on the line against the former welterweight champion of the world, Kamaru Usman. This one, 10 days notice, right? The main event got put together on 11 days. They said, we can do one better over here in the welterweight division. Now that the fight's happening at middleweight, of course. But Kamaru Usman accepts this fight, short notice, comes in to replace Paulo Costa, who had a really nasty elbow injury. He's been posting pictures of it on Twitter. It is disgusting. So I understand why that fight did not happen. Paulo, I hope you recover soon and that we can see you back in the cage. You are a one crazy fella to follow for sure. But damn, is he exciting to watch. But we don't get to see him this weekend at UFC 294. But man, do we have a way, way more intriguing fight, in my opinion. Not only is this a former champion, Kamaru Usman, coming up to fight Khamzat Chimaev in what will, at least on paper, be Chimaev's hardest fight to date. And really by far, at least it should be name value wise and such. But the fact that Kamaru is doing this, yes, the short notice thing, but coming up to 185, how's he going to look? He's a big, muscular, strong guy for sure. But at 170, I don't know. We never heard him talk about depleting himself, draining himself, being miserable during weight cuts, right? I feel like he is a perfect 170-pound fighter. So to see what he'll shape out and look like at 185 will be interesting, especially face to face with Khamzat Chimaev, who, yes, we've seen at middleweight before. Khamzat seems like the type of guy that could probably do 205 if he really wanted to. He's 2 inches taller. He doesn't seem to be as thick of a body as Usman, but I don't know, man. I think this is going to be, come Saturday when they're face to face across from each other in the cage, Hamzat's going to look pretty big. So it's up to Usman. Like, how is he going to fill out? That's very, very interesting to follow along with. But, the drama here in this one, Hamzat has managed to make himself as close to a superstar as one can be without officially breaking through that superstar barrier. And he's done it with 2 ranked wins. Li Jingliang, I guess, was probably ranked at that time that fight happened. But just the inactivity as of late, it's been weird. Like, Chimaev, in a sense, has been able to be forgotten about because he hasn't made a lot of noise, during his time off, during these layoffs between fights. But the second something gets announced with him, or for example, this week, people go nuts for the guy. And he's just has this aura around him, this special thing about him ever since he debuted, in the UFC back a couple of years ago in 2020, the 3 fights in like less than a month and a half, 2 fights in 8 days. He was doing things that we had like never even seen before and making it look so easy. Some of the numbers that he was putting up against people, the strike discrepancies and whatnot, was insane. But the biggest test he's ever had was against someone that Kamaru Usman has also beaten in Gilbert Burns, a former title challenger, and that fight got ugly. Boy, was it one of the best fights of 2022, but it was ugly here and there for Khamzat Chimaev. But I'll say this, and I still stand on this ground to this day. Khamzat could have made that fight a lot easier. I thought he approached that fight solely for the purpose of having a war, to just go and swang and bang against Gilbert Burns. Why? I don't know. Hindsight, I'm glad he did because it was one of the best fights of the last couple of years for sure. And we got to really see, like, okay, Hamzat, like, when the going gets tough, when it gets ugly, you got that dog in you. It's not always going to come easy like it has been against the other guys' names on this list that you're seeing here. But to still be able to dig deep and get a win over a seasoned veteran like that in Gilbert Burns, it did say a lot, regardless of how I felt he did approach that fight and how he could have approached it differently. And, Kamaru's been so battle tested, man. I mean, he's coming off of a 5-round fight with Leon back in March. We've seen it all with Kamaru Usman. And I'll say, you know, his biggest test with grapplers has been Colby Covington, right? But both of those fights that they had, both of which Kamaru won, they stood the whole entire time. They struck the entire length of both of those fights for the majority of the time, 90% of it. For Khamzat here, obviously going to be a phenomenal grappler, wrestler that Kamaru is going to have to face up a weight class as well, which is another added factor. Is it going to come into play here? Like, is Chimaev just going to come in and ragdoll Kamaru Usman? Like, is that going to happen? Like, it's kind of hard to envision that and see that, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. That's how special I believe Khamzat Chimaev really is. It's just a matter of, can Kamaru stop it? Can he hold good in the takedown defensive realm? He did great against, the Colby Covingtons of the world, but Khamzat does it in such a different way, a more, I don't know. Colby's that traditional American style wrestler, right? Khamzat does not approach those takedowns and the grappling in the same way. He just feels like uses all out brute strength, but still there's so much technique in there that I feel like it's hard to grasp from like a fan perspective. It's just so much different here. And I don't know if Kamaru can withstand that, especially on 10 days notice, especially giving up the size that he's going to be giving up, at least I believe he's going to be giving up in this fight. Man, I've seen a lot of people throwing out like bets on this card, trying to get Chimaev watered down. He's minus 325, Kamaru Usman plus 260, dog. I think that's the first time Kamaru's been a betting underdog since the Tyron Woodley fight, if I'm not mistaken. So that was back in March of 2019, many, many fights ago and many years ago now. I'm not saying I'm surprised that Chimaev's the favorite. It's a little wide, minus 300, right, against a proven commodity and champion, and Kamaru Usman, a great, great elite level fighter. But I think a lot of people, and including myself, feel that Kamaru's slowly but surely on that downward spiral, right, on that decline. And that seems disrespectful to Leon. So I don't mean it that way. Leon is phenomenal, and he was so great in that rematch to be able to not only come back and have the head kick knockout to win the title from Kamaru, but to then prove in the rematch that you can beat him over the course of 25 minutes. That proves that you're a legitimate champion and high level fighter. So that's no slight to Leon, but it's been made evident that Kamaru's knees are just going out on him. He's been wrestling for so many years, so much wear and tear on that body. It is good that he's not making the weight cut, and 185 could be a thing for him for however much longer his career lasts. But man, 36 years old now. Chimaev, 29, 7 years younger than the former champion, and just so much more momentum. There's so much more on the side of Khamzat Chimaev, regardless of the layoffs and the drama surrounding some of the fights that he tries to get into and then they fall through. And just look at UFC 279 last year. Kevin Holland somehow making his way into that fight, and Chimaev just doing what he had to do to dispose of him. There's something about this guy that is so much different than a lot of the other big name fighters, big name stars of this modern era of the fight game, and pair that with this momentum and the clear skill sets that he has. This is a big uphill battle for the former champion Kamaru Usman. But dude, I mean, Dana coming out and saying the winner of this gets Strickland, adding that little extra incentive and that little extra sprinkle of hype that didn't even need to happen for this. I mean, so many people are excited for this fight. Now you add that the winner's going to face Strickland for the title. Kamaru looking to just further cement his legacy. It's already been cemented. So many title defenses and title victories, and he had 15 straight wins in a row, was one shy of tying Anderson Silva's record. I mean, he's done some amazing things. And to think that he can still, this late into his career, come in, you'd have to knock off one of the biggest hyped prospects and talents that the UFC's seen in a very long time. And then you can get a title opportunity against Sean Strickland and win a second title up a weight class at 185. That would be quite a way to kind of go out in your career, right? I'd say, assuming, like, let's say Kamaru wins this fight, I'd say he would have this fight, a title fight with Strickland, and then if he wins against Strickland, I'd say he would defend one time and retire. If he loses to Strickland, I think he will retire. So I think we're seeing at most 2 to 3 fights in Kamaru Usman's career left. For Khamzat, the guy's so young. Only 6 fights in the UFC. He has so many fights left in the tank. Maybe he even ventures to 170 before it gets too late, and makes a run there. He's made it clear he wants to win 3 belts, not one, not two, but 3 championships: welterweight, middleweight, and light heavyweight down the road. And it's gonna sound crazy, but I think if anybody can, it's him. If anybody can freaking do it, it is Khamzat Chimaev. But he gets to answer a lot of questions this weekend. I know it's short notice, not the original fight, not the guy that he was game planning for. You add that in as well, much like the Islam and Volk fight. Kamaru coming off the couch, if you will. Chimaev was in a training camp for Paulo Costa. All signs point toward a Chimaev victory. I lean Chimaev. I have a hard time, much like in the main event as well, seeing such a great fighter and champion and Usman getting finished. But I see a finish happening here much easier than I do in that main event slot. Chimaev is there, right? Like I just said about the superstar kind of, he's there without having officially broken through. This is the one. You beat Kamaru Usman here in Abu Dhabi on a huge high profile card. You get a title fight next, all but guaranteed by Dana White. He's there. The hype train will have officially arrived for good, assuming we can get more activity out of him, more consistency now, kind of like the old Khamzat. Not that you have to fight 3 times in a month, but more consistency in 2024. And I think we're going to be on to something that is very, very special class of fighter with Khamzat Chimaev. It's going to be a doozy. It's going to be a banger for as long or as short as this fight goes. Let me know what you guys think. What's your predictions? Can Kamaru Usman defy the odds? Can he come up a weight class on 10 days' notice and derail Khamzat Chimaev, take away his perfect record en route to getting a title fight in 2024 at middleweight? Or Chimaev keep rolling? Will he get that win, that statement win to solidify how damn good that he is? Give me all your thoughts. Give me all your predictions. Enjoy the fights this weekend. I'm excited to be back next week to recap all the action and talk about what could be next. Smash the like button if you're new. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hope you guys are enjoying this new layout, the new logo, the new colors. Any ways that I can improve the visual thing for you guys on YouTube, I will do that, and let me know if you have any feedback as well. UFC 294 this weekend. Buckle up.